Hello, my dear ones, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Maria. This is a channel about spirituality. Welcome, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about soul families. I don't see that topic being discussed as often as it probably should, and I figured I would start remedying that today. If you have seen my video on twin flames, that's great news. That video is a really good precursor to this one. So soul families, what are they? Does everyone have one? The answer is yes, you all have a soul family. Now, obviously, in the universe, there are multiple perspectives. There are multiple ways to look at reality. One perspective is that we are all each other's one big soul family. I love that perspective. However, it's not the only perspective that the universe holds. More often than not, when you ascend to soul level, you would notice that souls tend to cluster together. It is part of the clusterization principle of the universe or the law of attraction. It's one and the same. So when we are created as souls, when we are being divided as sparks of consciousness away from Source, our great parent, what ends up happening is not only do we get assigned twin flame, another soul that is our most perfect twin and companion, the soul that it is most alike us, or most like us in the entirety of existence. But we also get assigned a soul family. The best way that I can describe this is this. So when source consciousness splits itself, it is actually a rotation. And this rotation happens across a variety of different spectrums. We can use a proxy of a rainbow to try to understand what happens. So when the rainbow is rotating, when the light is rotating, right, and it splits itself into all the colors of the rainbow, certain souls are going to be on the red spectrum, other souls are going to be on the orange or the yellow or the blue. And so source consciousness keeps rotating and it goes through all the colors of the rainbow one by one, many times over. So when your soul was birthed, there were other souls very similar to it, not quite as similar perhaps as the twin flame, but there were other souls, and there were a number of them, that got created and they were cut from the same cloth, if that makes sense. Vibrationally, they were very similar to you. Those are the souls that we would refer to as a soul family. These are groups of souls, and they range anywhere from 4 souls to about 200, I think, where this taps out. That would be considered your immediate soul family. Your immediate soul family is truly what it sounds like. These are the beings that are the closest to you in the entirety of existence. They have incredible love for you. They love you unconditionally. But also, they are your kindred spirits. These are the souls that would really just get you because they are like you. Vibrationally, you're very similar. You know, if you were notes in a musical scale, you would be the same note. If you were a color in the rainbow, you'd be the same color. If you were a letter in an alphabet, you'd be the same letter. Because of that, there is this inherent sense of understanding and acceptance within every soul family. And so, essentially, soul families are, if you think of a honeycomb, and you have these cells of a honeycomb, within one cell, your immediate family is going to be, within this one cell of the honeycomb. But then there are adjacent cells of the honeycomb, and these are your neighboring soul families, or adjacent soul families. Those soul families are also going to be very similar to yours. And so at soul level, relatives are not just the beings within your immediate soul family, but also the adjacent soul families. And then as you go further out, that is where you would start getting beings who are fundamentally very different from you. Now, why is this important? Many, many reasons. A, your soul family are by default your spirit guides. Every single being within your soul family is your spirit guide. Now, whether they are a very active spirit guide or a little bit more of a passive spirit guide really depends. But make no mistake, everybody who is part of your soul family, immediate soul family, is going to be guiding you and has a vested interest. Because soul family is like a unit. It's kind of like a spacecraft. You rise and fall together, if that makes sense. So very often, soul family members are going to go on missions together. They love going on missions together. They are each other's best support system. And, if you really need a true partner in crime, if you need somebody who is going to be with you through thick and thin, you're going to probably want to recruit somebody from within your soul family. Best marriages, best friendships, best romantic relationships, best, student teacher, mentor mentee type of relationships are always your soul family connections. When you meet somebody from your soul family, it's an instant recognition, but not just the recognition, because you may recognize people who you've met in your past lives. And there may be a sense of familiarity with them, but there may not be a sense of, ooh, I get them. Like, I really understand them. And also at soul families, you very often share similar characteristics. So if you met somebody from your soul family, very often you are very similar. You either like similar things, you have similar hobbies, you have similar values. Souls at the soul family level have a lot of very similar values. And the things that so the likes and dislikes, right? So the view of the world is going to be very, very similar. Opinions are going to be very, very similar. But going back to my point earlier, just because somebody feels familiar to you doesn't mean that they're a part of your soul family. Like I said, you could have a karmic relationship with them. You could have incarnated with them in 1,000 other lifetimes, and that's why they feel familiar. However, it's not your system of your coordinate system, your system of values is not going to be the same if they're not part of your immediate soul family. So I just wanted to call that out. So also, so conceptually, like I said, souls within the family rise and fall together. So when we look at the level of the soul family, whether a being, another soul, is part of your immediate soul family, an adjacent soul family, or a remote soul family would really matter to you as you're planning your next incarnation. How so? Let's say you are descending on planet Earth to start a movement, and let's say that movement is a revolutionary movement. Let's say you want to make a revolution happen for one way or another. If you want to recruit like-minded people who are going to be with you through thick and thin, people who are going to be with you against all odds, and most likely folks that are going to have the same opinion and the same viewpoint as you, you may want to recruit people from your immediate soul family and the adjacent soul families, if that makes sense, right? Those are going to be your most loyal supporters, your loyal friends, and you're not going to have to work so hard at selling your vision. However, let's say you are looking for an adversary. Let's say you are, you came up with this grand plan for an incarnation, and obviously you're the protagonist, but you're looking for the adversary, and it needs to be somebody really, really different from who you are. Most likely, you're going to look for, you're going to talk to and recruit souls that are very far away from your soul family. How so? It's actually very easy, or shall I say easier, to find somebody with an opposing view if they're not related to you at soul level or further removed away from your honeycomb cell at soul level, right? Because what would be natural to them may not be what's natural to you. And that is actually really, really perfect, because your antagonist is always your greatest teacher. We always learn from souls that are least like us. They're the ones that challenge us the most. They're the ones that are our biggest mirrors. They're the ones that trigger us the most very often, right? And so for an adversary, you would shop around in a remote soul family. Okay, So just in terms of like practical things you can do with your soul family, I find now, of course, with larger soul families, it's really, really hard, but there are always beings within your soul family that are like your best friends, for the lack of a better word, even with larger soul families. I highly recommend that you get to know your top 5 most, like top 5 closest souls in the universe. How do you do that? In a meditative state, you literally, well, actually, let me rewind. In a meditative state, you could get to a place. There is a place that your soul family has as it's almost like, I don't want to call it a fraternity house, but it is a place where, like a meeting place for your soul family. It is a meeting place that is predetermined and it is generally kept fairly static across incarnations and timelines and everything, right? So there's one place beyond time and space where your soul family agreed to meet one another, regardless of who is incarnated where. And so if you choose to go back to that meeting place, the universe is going to send you there right away. Like the universe remembers the coordinates of that spot. Very often there is like a large table, like a round table almost with chairs in the meeting space. Although things can vary, families obviously vary. And then you may want to look around who's sitting in front of the table. It's actually quite fascinating to get to know your soul team, just because you can tell a lot about yourself by getting to know your soul family. Like I said, you'll very often share aspirations and desires, dreams and goals with your soul family. You rise and fall together, which means that very often you are excited about the same things in the universe. You're working on the same projects. And I find it quite fascinating being able to list your 5 closest souls in the order of their closeness to you. Now, obviously, your number 1 closest soul is going to be your twin flame. Your twin flame is always a part of your immediate soul family. And you will find that everybody else is in pairs as well. So everybody always has a pair. I personally have not come across a soul that does not have a pair. Yeah, that does not really exist in the universe that I'm aware, unless twin flames can merge into one. That I have seen happen, but that would be the only instance that I can think of when somebody does not have a pair. Merging, though, is quite rare and very often happens towards the end of the universal cycle. Right now, we are 40% in, so we're not towards the end of the cycle yet. So there are not a lot of twin flames that are merged. Obviously, when this cycle is complete, everybody's going to be merged back into source consciousness, be merged back into oneness. And that process always happens through the twin flames are the first ones to merge. So you first merge with your twin flame when everything gets collapsed back into oneness. Once you've merged with your twin flame, you merge with the rest of your immediate soul family. Then you merge with your adjacent soul family. And then, from there, just extrapolates from there. So like attracts like, and the clusterization principles, also how things go back into the crayon box, if that makes sense. There is an order and method to this whole madness, to this whole game. Where I was going with this is, it's actually very interesting to get to know your top favorite or top closest spirits or souls. Very often you would find that they all have very different personalities, and they would have not just very different personalities, but they would have very different skill sets as well. And especially if you're going through a tough incarnation or a meaningful incarnation, your soul family often chooses to donate part of their energy towards your goals or give you certain gifts or objects of power. And very often the objects that they give you are correlated to what strengths they have at soul level. And souls may even pass certain gifts. I'll give you an example. Let's say that by the virtue of incarnating, one of the souls in your soul family had a lot of lives where he or she was a public speaker. And through that, they have learned how to be very influential. They have learned how to hold the attention of the crowd. They have a very charismatic personality. And another soul, for instance, was a warrior soul. And they went through life and they chose lives where they led large number of people into battle, or they flew on military planes, and they essentially practiced courage and military strategy, for instance, and the warrior spirit. Let's say that that's what happened. And let's say you are the soul that hasn't really practiced either the warrior archetype or the public speaker archetype. When you are in this life and you establish strong relationships and strong connections from here to the other two members of your soul family, they may be able to transfer their skill sets over to you via a portal and the connection that you have. So this one soul may choose, if it is relevant, to pass on some of its learnings around public speaking and charisma and holding the attention of others over to you into this body and actually anchor that. So it's actually the way that process works, it's not dissimilar to coming into an incarnation. When you come into an incarnation, your higher self or middle self needs to split a portion of its energy into your physical vessel, into your physical body. When a skill set transfer happens, a similar thing occurs, only it requires a lot less energy. And so your immediate soul family, essentially has an unlimited capacity for sharing soul gifts like that. And they would essentially come as a stream of energy into your physical vessel, into your physical body, and get anchored here. And then, the second soul may choose to give you courage or, some strategic benefits around like strategy. It doesn't have to be military strategy, but maybe you're, in business, and military strategy and business strategy are very, very similar gifts. Do you know what I mean? Getting to know your soul family could be a wonderful competitive advantage, especially the souls that are at the top. Getting to know who they are and how you guys got so close, right? What types of lives you lived together, because it is no coincidence that certain souls just grow closer together and other souls go further apart. It is via the experiences that you share together, right? And so very often the soul that has incarnated with you the most in partnership type incarnations, where the soul that has supported you the most is going to be this top one. I mean, beyond your twin flame, right? So the twin flame is your number one closest soul, and then you have 4 other souls that are really, really close to you. So getting to know them could be a very, very special relationship. Now, very often you would find out that these beings chose to incarnate with you, and they may even tell you, oh, actually, like I'm your mother in this life, or I'm your brother, or I will come as one of your children. It is entirely possible. And so it's kind of like the family reunion. So I just wanted to share that because I know there's been all this talk about twin flames, and in general, I think people have a very limited understanding of how big our soul families are and what a wonderful resource it is. And in general, I think tracing back these relationships can be both a very fun experience as well as a very enlightening experience. You can learn so much about yourself, how you gel with people, why you like certain people and why you don't. And by the way, you may even look up the Akashic records of your soul family. That is actually a very, very fun exercise. Now, this is not an episode on Akashic records. I did at least a few podcasts on the Akashic records, and I think some recordings are on this channel, so check them out. But yes, your soul family has a whole set of records in the Akashic field. Your soul family has a name, it has a cluster, and it has certain recordings or records around what's so special about your soul family. What are the soul family gifts that you have? What are the challenges, etc., etc. So it can be quite interesting for you if you're so inclined to read up and connect to the Akashic records of your soul family as well. Alrighty, let me know if you have any questions in the comments. And on that note, also do let me know if you guys have, met anybody from your soul family in this life. I would love to hear. Sending you a big virtual hug, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.